studied and researched the Tort Claims Act?
I've studied the Tort Claims Act on many occasions.
And what does the Tort Claims Act say when there's instances where an individual is named, a government individual is named in their personal capacity?
Be more specific. What are you looking for?
The truth.
You suggest that I would offer anything else than that?
No.
I would be highly offended that somebody that I practice law with would say that. But go ahead.
Mr. Brad, it was a joke.
And I didn't find it very funny.
Well, let's move on. Does the Tort Claims Act not, in fact, require the substitution of the government entity when individuals are named in lawsuits?
The Tort Claims Act is very detailed. And certainly one of the aspects of the Tort Claims Act is when a tort claim is brought against an individual, in appropriate circumstances, the entity becomes the defendant. There are other circumstances where the individual can be sued in their individual capacity.
And in fact, if the person were acting in their official capacity, or the county, for example, in this instance, acknowledge they're acting in their official capacity, would require the substitution of the county, wouldn't it?
I think by operation of the law that happens. I don't think that there's any. If a lawsuit gets filed and it has 5 or 6 different names attached to it, I don't think they are automatically eliminated from the caption of pleading and the entity is inserted. I think that's an operation by law. That's something that happens by operation of law. Who's going to be held responsible for it?
In fact, there's a statute that provides for that, correct?
Could be.
And there's an opinion. I think it's the flat toe opinion.
I'm not familiar with it.
Did you make any efforts to obtain the pleadings from the lawsuit where Mr. Preston sued Bob Walker for some reason?
I don't remember doing that, no.
Will you turn to Defense Exhibit 18? And the very first thing that I need to ask you is, up in the top left-hand corner, I can't quite read your handwriting. What does that little note say?
Which one? The one on the upper right left-hand corner?
Yeah, the very top one is that.
I can't tell. Something but won't say so, and I don't know.
Okay.
What exhibit are you looking at now? I was typing, I missed the number.
Defense Exhibit 18.
Thank you.
Does this exhibit reflect your notes from October 9th?
Yes, sir.
And that was a meeting with Michael Thompson?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, was Michael Thompson the chairman of the county council?
That was my understanding.
And is it also your knowledge that the chairman of county council constitutes an ex officio member of every subcommittee?
Didn't know that, no.
Didn't know that?
No.
Down towards the very bottom, there's one straggly line, and then right above it, there's 4 lines that begins with Preston. You see that? Preston has sued.
Yes.
It says, quote, Preston has sued Waldrop and Wilson for interfering with Preston's job, went into finance office with Channel 7 demanding certain financial records, end quote.
Yes.
What do you remember about that?
I obviously had to have been told that in this meeting by Mr. Thompson, but I don't have any specific recollection of that.
Do you recall that Mr. Waldrop and Ms. Wilson actually went into the finance department with the news group?
I have no idea.
Would that have been something you'd like to know when you were providing advice?
In terms of the job that I was asked to do and what I was asked to look at, no.
On direct examination, I thought I understood your testimony to be that the amounts underneath Mr. Preston's severance agreement were way too high. Is that incorrect?
No, I think what I said is I wouldn't have agreed to it.
You wouldn't have agreed to it.
No, sir.
It would have been contrary to what you advised the county.
I didn't advise the county. I gave the county, as a good lawyer does, an understanding of what the options were and the upside and the downside of those options for them to make a choice and a decision on what they wanted to do.
And the potential downside, you don't deny, was communicated as potentially exceeding $2 million.
Absolutely.
Right above that passage we just read, Mr. Bryant, does it reflect that Michael Thompson told you as of October 9, 2008, while he was the county council chairman, that when, quote, when new council members are seated, there will be changes, end quote?
Where are you reading now?
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Sorry, I did that out of order.
Again, I don't have a specific recollection of that being said, but obviously I wouldn't have written it in my notes if someone hadn't said that to me. I assume it was Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, and these are your
Absolutely.
notes from your meeting with Mr. Thompson.
In my handwriting.
I was going to ask you that next. If you turn the page and look down, there's a passage in the very middle that says, and I quote, Bob plus Cindy, arrow, opposed to hiring anyone. He presented, end quotation mark. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And was it your understanding from your meeting with Mr. Thompson that Ms. Wilson and Mr. Waldrop were actually opposed to your retention?
Even sitting here reading that today, I don't have that recollection. It doesn't say that. It says we're opposed to hiring anyone. I don't know who that anyone refers to. So, no, I can't agree with your statement.
And then down below that, it reflects, and I quote, 5 others looked at it and decided to hire us after executive session, made a vote 5-2, end quote.
That seems to suggest that I was making notes about retaining the law firm that I work for.
And the ultimate severance agreement vote, it was 5-2 or 5-1-1?
I have no idea.
You don't even know that?
No one asked me that question. I didn't.
I'm asking.
I don't know. I never did know. In fact, I take that back. I'm sure someone may have told me, but I don't have any recollection.
Will you turn the page and look at the next passage? Does that reflect on the first real line? And I quote that 3 auditing firms have said clean, end quote.
Yeah, somebody would have had to tell me that. I assume it was Mr. Thompson.
And actually, I made a knucklehead mistake when I was talking to Mr. Walter. Did you ever find out that Anderson County, as of 2008, had had 11 clean audits that mirrored every single year that Mr. Preston worked for Anderson County?
No one ever shared that with me, no.
No one ever told you that.
No.
If you look down, there's one sentence there. It's under, see where the number 21st appears?
Okay.
Now, I thought you said on direct that you told Mr. Thompson that you insisted on interviewing every single councilman.
I did.
And your notes reflect that Mr. Thompson told you that he wanted you to contact each council member and let them tell you their side of the story.
He may have said that as well.
Mr. Thompson told you to call all the council members and find out what the position was, did he not?
That's what my notes reflect. I also specifically remember that's something I wanted to do. And I told him I was going to do.
In your conversation with Mr. Thompson, you found that Mr. Thompson believed that it was important for you to find facts and opinions that were believed by all the other county council members that were sitting at that time.
He didn't give me any guidance on what he wanted me to ask them. I wanted to be comfortable that each one of them had an understanding of what my role was, what my job was, what I was being retained to do, and I wanted to hear from them.
Now, Mr. Bryan, when a layman tells you, and I quote, let them tell you their side of the story, end quote, what do you normally perceive that to mean?
Tell you whatever they want to tell you.
About Mr. Preston's employment situation.
I didn't try to characterize it as anything in particular. That's obviously what I've been retained to handle.
Let's look at the next exhibit. That's exhibit 19. Is there a, if you turn to page 3 of this exhibit, there's a paragraph in the middle that refers to Bob Walker. And I guess I should clarify. These are your notes from either a conversation on telephone or in person with Tom Martin.
Yes,
Tom Martin was the county attorney.
yes. He was an attorney at McNair, if I remember correctly.
Page 3 of this exhibit discusses what Mr. Martin told you about Bob Walker, right? And what Mr. Martin told you about Bob Walker was that, one, he ran for the state legislature, he was a good reformer, but now he's a changed man. He hates Tom and he hates Joey. And he feels that Joey's not forthcoming, right? That's what Tom Martin told him, right?
Correct. Again, I wouldn't have written that down if that's not what he told me.
Down below, in the very bottom, Tom Martin also told you, and I quote, Joey is seeking injunctive relief to enjoin them, and it notes up above, Cindy and Bob, from interfering with his job. Buddy Nicholson, end quote. And Buddy Nicholson was the judge, right?
That was my understanding.
If you turn the page, there's another passage. And it refers to a lawsuit that Joey brought. And it says, and I quote, Joey sued Cindy for invasion of privacy. Era, settled. Open for N, running registration of his BMW. End quotation. Tom Martin also told you about the potential problem in the relationship between Cindy Wilson and Mr. Preston, right?
I'm sure I knew that at some point in time. Whether or not it was Tom Martin who told me that, I'm not sure I can remember.
Now, did you do any investigation into what the dispute was between Ms. Wilson and Mr. Preston?
No, there's no need for me to do that.
Can you turn to Defense Exhibit 20? Expense Exhibit 20 are notes from a telephone conversation that you had with Ron Wilson on October 13th of 2008.
That's right.
And that's still right in that initial time frame when you were first retained.
Correct.
In the middle of the page, there's a section that talks about Bob Waldrop. And it says, and I quote, Waldrop allied with Cindy. His daughter applied for a job at McNair, turned down, Waldrop upset, in quotation marks. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
At some point in time, did you become aware of the fact that McNair was fired as the county attorney?
I knew that at some point in time. When, I don't remember.
If you turn to the top of page 2, and there's a passage, and it says, and I quote, spend whatever to make sure they know where all the money is, end quote. Do you see that?
Yes?
Can you ascertain from your notes who that statement is attributed to?
Again, it's part of my notes of my conversation with Ron Wilson. Whether he's saying that or someone else has said that, it's information he's conveying to me.
Okay. At the very bottom of the page, there's a passage, and it says, and I quote, he's heard her say, let's fire him, end quote. You see that?
Yes, I do.
And when Ron Wilson told you that, he was attributing that statement to Cindy Wilson, isn't it?
I don't have.
This is one of the passages we were talking about, which as far as state of mind, Mr. White, when he was informed is fine, but it is obvious hearsay within hearsay.
It's been pre-admitted. I don't understand what the objection is.
The objection is as to the use of it for the truth of the matter asserted that it was William's statement. Mr. Bright had it before him.
Now wait a minute, Judge. We had a deal. All the notes were coming in, and they've been pre-admitted. When it hurt me, and there was stuff in it that I didn't like, I didn't object because they were pre-admitted. But now, he doesn't like it.
This has been put into the record, it's an exhibit, is that wrong?
That's correct, Your Honor. My point is just the scope for which it may be used.
Overruled. You may proceed.
Mrs. Wright, it's true, is it not, that on October 13th of 2008, Mr. Wilson was talking to you on the phone, and he indicated to you on the phone that he had heard Cindy Wilson say that he heard Cindy Wilson say, let's fire.
Again, I don't know who's referring to. I don't remember a lot of the conversations specifically. That makes sense, but I don't know what her refers to specifically. That certainly makes sense to me.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Wright. On county council in 2008, when the employment dispute came up, how many women were on county council?
I don't have any recollection.
Were there 2?
I don't know.
Was
I
one,
do know there were 2. I don't know whether there were more.
Was one Gracie Floyd?
Yes, I believe so.
Was one Cindy Wilson?
Yes, I believe so.
If you could rule out Gracie Floyd, could you reasonably conclude it was Cindy Wilson?
Again, I don't know. I don't have an independent recollection sitting here today of him saying that he heard somebody say, let's fire her. Obviously, you told me that because it's in my notes, but I don't know who her refers to. It could have been somebody in the public. That doesn't make sense to me, but I don't remember. What does make sense is that it was Cindy Wilson he was referring to.
Right above it, it says, and I quote, easiest way out is to buy him out, end quote. Does it not?
Yes, it is.
And Ron Wilson was telling you, as early as October 13th of 2008, that it was, in his opinion, the easiest way out of this mess, right?
Yes.
And on direct examination, you testified about how political climate had deteriorated in this time frame, right?
That was my understanding, yes.
And your understanding was further that Mr. Preston was the lightning rod at the center of that, right?
I would certainly agree with that.
And what Mr. Wilson is telling you is that the easiest way out of this mess is to buy the guy out and send him on his way.
Correct,
And an amicable divorce.
correct.
You turn and look at the next exhibit, Defense Exhibit 21. Mr. Bryant, are these your notes from October 13th of 2008 from a telephone conversation you had with Larry Greer?
Yes,
Larry Greer was on the Personnel Committee.
yes,
And Mr. Greer's conclusion, as reflected in the last sentence on the bottom of Defense Exhibit 21, was, and I quote, "A buyout is cheaper than protracted litigation," end quote.
yes.
That was his conclusion, right?
That was his conclusion then and throughout the process of my dealing with him.
And in fact, that is borne out to be true, right?
I have no idea.
1.1 is less than 2.5. Can we agree to that?
Objection, no foundation.
Mrs. Bryant?
I'll ask you to rephrase.
I'll do that. I should probably have let you like. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bryant, did you ever learn how much today the county has spent investigating Mr. Preston and our lawsuits?
No.
Can we agree that when a county council member makes decisions that impact her or his constituents, they have to take into consideration more than maybe just a lawyer does, right?
I've never run for public office, so I have no idea what they take into consideration.
Well, you represented the county in this instance, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And in this instance, these representatives have to take into broader consideration things that may impact the best interest of the county, right?
I'm sure they do. There's no question in my mind. That's what I would do if I were in public office.
And those things don't stack up in a neat little 1, 2, 3 column that allows you to calculate a specific number.
Yeah, you're asking me something I'm not familiar with, so I would say no, it doesn't.
You don't know.
Correct. Correct.